Hey Mixers, welcome back to another NFL video. We are going to combine our player props with our sides, totals, and spreads since there's just the two games. So I have a couple of player props for you. I've got all the sides, totals, and spreads and all of those leans, and we'll review that. But first, we got to give away some cash because we did have a full sweep in our NFL best bet player props for the divisional round. So let's go ahead and do that first. All right, normally we would give away two prizes, but because I only had 3 people comment on the video, I told you I don't get very many comments on my football videos, and there were only 3. So I am giving away 3 prizes because it's my money and I can do whatever I want with it. So Westside ATL said Walker and Nix, Rex Houston like Bo Nix and Ramondre Stevenson, Nicodemo Scarfo like Tonjes, and Stroud. All of them hit. So I will be reaching out. I think I've paid all 3 of you before, so I will reach out and get you that money. All right, so going over the sides, totals, and spreads that we picked last week, I did get all 4 money lines correct, which, I mean, how hard is it to pick, the favorite in all of them, except, I guess, in the Denver. Well, Denver was a favorite when I made my video. I know they were waffling back and forth between a favorite and an underdog. But anyway, we got all 4 of those correct. We got 2 out of the 4 spreads correct, and then we got only 1 total out of the 3 correct. So jumping into the player props. Oh, game bet, sorry. The only game bet we made was the Houston and New England under, which we did not get because New England just ran up the score, basically, which was awesome for them. The super teaser missed by 1 leg, which I didn't put any money on that. I told you guys I can't bet these in my state, but I just like to give them to you as like bets that I would make, I guess, if I could. And then the teaser also, same thing. I can't bet on it, but it didn't come through because of that Houston blowout. So we were down 1.747 game bets for the year so far. Obviously, we just have conference game and the Super Bowl left. So we probably will end up a little bit down on our game bets, but this was our first year ever doing it. And so I feel like that's not bad for my first year betting spreads, sides, and totals. All right, and then touchdowns, I didn't give you any. Player props, we went 4-0 on the best bets, 2-0 on the alt lines. So Bo Nix crushed it easily, 22.5 rushing yards. Jake Tonjes over 34.5. I told you could ladder that up to 50, and obviously that would have worked for you. I did not do that, though. CJ Stroud over 10.5 rushing yards. I also considered laddering that up to about 20, 19.5, but I didn't end up doing that either. He barely got there with 11, and honestly, we got a little lucky because there was one play where he kind of rushed forward for like -3 yards, and it went down as a sack, and it really should have been a rushing attempt because he clearly had tucked the ball and was running. But whatever, we'll take it. And then Ramondre Stevenson over 20 had 25 first quarter rushing yards, so over 7.5, cleared that easily. Kenneth Walker easily cleared his rush attempts because Zachy Sharps went down with an injury, so no worries there. And then Kyron Williams demolished his rush attempts line because Blake Corum was barely involved. All right, for the picks for conference weekend, New England at Denver, the spread's 5.5, total 42.5, plus 210 on the money line. For the Broncos, -258 for the Patriots. In this series history, the away teams have won the past 4 head-to-heads going back to 2016, and that's when both teams were relatively bad. Now both teams are relatively good. They did meet in the AFC Championship game in 2016 and 2014. Denver won at home both times. And then I also looked back at just their entire postseason history and their entire series history. And it looked like they'd only met a couple more times in the playoffs, and Denver had done pretty well. The home teams did pretty well. So the Patriots won when they were at home, Broncos won when they were at home. Obviously, we're talking about Peyton Manning and Tom Brady in one of these games. Anyway, the Patriots right now are scoring 29.5 points per game, which is first in the NFL, and they're allowing 19.5. Actually, no, I think the Rams are first in the NFL, but I think it must be second. And then they're allowing 19.5. Broncos are scoring 26.3 at home and allowing 19 at home. So their defenses are both playing about the same, although I would say the Broncos probably have faced tougher matchups, and but not dramatically necessarily, because they also played like the Titans and things like that. And then the Broncos are scoring a little bit less, and should be even more less now that they don't have their starting quarterback. Although Bo Nix, I don't think was amazing this season. I don't think he was anything special necessarily. So I don't think Jarrett Stidham is necessarily that big of a step down. I see one of two scenarios. Either the Patriots demolish the Broncos like what happened with the Texans just barely, or they win by about 5 points. So I think the spread is almost correct. I am going to lean towards Denver on the spread, Patriots on the money line, and then the over 42.5, but I don't feel confident on any of those to bet them. In this other game, though, we will be betting on the Rams money line. The spread's 2.5, total 47.5. Money line is plus 130, and then minus 155 for the Seattle Seahawks. In 2025, this year, home teams won tight games by like 3 or less. 2024, the away teams won, and then in 2023, the Rams swept. They met twice in the postseason in their like recently, and the Rams won in Seattle both times. Actually, one of them was back when the Rams were in St. Louis, and then one of them was more recently, like 2021. And like I said, the Rams won in an away game both times. Rams are scoring 31 in away games, number one in the NFL, I think, for away games. Or I think maybe just their average for home and away is the highest in the NFL. Seahawks are scoring 31.8 at home. Both teams are allowing about 20, 22.6 for the Rams, and 18.7 for Seattle. So I think like 27-24, I think both teams can push the score higher. This is the division matchup. This is basically what we wanted the San Francisco game to be, a nice high-scoring division matchup where both teams are just pushing the score up. And that didn't happen because San Francisco just their injuries finally caught up to them, and I did tell you that could happen. I think the Rams are going to step in and make that game possible. So I do think the offenses are going to have a high-scoring day. I'm going to lean towards the Rams, and the Rams on the spread as well. I just think that the Seahawks have gotten a little, I don't want to take anything away from the Seahawks. I just think that they have gotten a little bit lucky this year. Like Sam Darnold's gotten a little bit lucky. Their schedule was a little easier than the Rams, slightly. They obviously play a lot of the same teams, but slightly easier schedule than the Rams. So I'm going to lean with the Rams on this one, and the price is too good to pass up for me. I'm going to lean over the 47.5 total, plus 130. And then what I'll do, you guys, this is what I did in the Bills Jacksonville game, is live. If I can get plus money on Seattle live, then I'm going to take that. And then either way, I'm guaranteeing myself at least probably about a half a unit profit, depending on the price I get. So that's probably what I'll do. All right, jumping into the player props. Ramondre Stevenson over 11.5 quarter one rushing yards. Now, this was 7.5 last week. Now it's 11.5. They're robbing us, you guys. That's 4 yards. That's like 2 rushes, basically, extra that they're taxing us. But I'm still going to bet it because over the last 7 games in a row, Ramondre Stevenson has been pounding the ball. And Travion Henderson did not play in the last game, so that is the only thing that gives me some pause. And then the Broncos and the Patriots both tend to have a little bit longer of drives. So again, there's reasons this can fail, but Broncos, even though the Broncos are a top 3 rush defense, they just gave up 30, I think, to James Cook in the first quarter. And so I think it's doable here. Pacheco went over his line. Genti went over his line. Chris Rodriguez for the Commanders went over his line. Kareem Hunt went over his line in one of the games. Genti again. So Genti both times went over his quarter one rushing yards line. And then just recently, James Cook had 30, I think maybe more than 30. I think the Patriots might be able to force Denver to punt and get 2 possessions in this first quarter. That would obviously help a lot. One other thing to keep in mind, I always want to give you, I'm making these bets, but I always want to give you the other side a little bit. So they increased this number by 4 yards, and I told you that's about 2 rushes, maybe, depending on the team. Ramondre's only getting 3 or 4 rush attempts in all these games that he went over. So he's been lucky to get really long rushes, some good rushes off of those. Now, if he just gets 3 or 4 rushes and they're all 3 yards, that is not going to cut it. If it's 2.7, we miss. If it's 3, we hit. So, I mean, it's going to be tight, I think, unless he just busts off a big one. But the Broncos defense is not a joke. They're a good unit. And so, I don't know. I feel nervous about it. But like I said, James Cook was able to do it just last week. So we're going with it again. All right. Sam Darnold over 234.5 passing yards. Now, I did get this at a better number. I got it at 229. But I'm giving it to you on the channel at 234.5 because that's what it is right now. He's over in 4 of 5 head-to-heads. That's the middle chart here. And there were 2 games this year And then the 2 before that is when he was with the Vikings. And then the one before that, he was actually with the 49ers in that game, the one miss. So kind of a weird head-to-head since he's been on 3 different teams. But at home, he has a bad hit rate. That's his first start. But most of those misses were huge 20-plus point blowouts. Some of them 30-plus point blowouts. So I X'd out all of the blowouts. So his only real misses were the first game of the season against the San Francisco 49ers, a division matchup there. And Nick Bosa was healthy and playing in that game, I'm pretty sure. And then the only other miss was against Houston. He almost got there, and Houston's one of the best defenses in the NFL. So I don't think the chart really does justice to what how Sam really was playing at home. He just didn't need to go over this line because he was winning by 30-plus points. Anyway, and then in I think over here, what is this? I don't know what this third chart is. I slapped it up here, but now I couldn't tell you what it is. Oh, I know what it is. These are the games that the Seahawks lost. So these 3 games were the only losses they had, and one was to San Francisco the first week. The other 2 losses, Sam went over this line easily. So if you think that the Seahawks potentially lose this game, the stats say he's going to easily clear this line if that happens. All right, bonus bet, Cooper Kupp, 30 and a half receiving yards. Now, this is his normal line, but you can get it for a 2x payout on Sleeper. So it's like a promo for an extra payout. Hopefully it's still there for you guys. I'm going to count it as a bonus bet because that's what I got. But if you can't get it on Sleeper, like you don't have Sleeper, then download it. What are you doing? I have a referral code in the pinned comment, not in the pinned comment, but in the details of the video. If you need a referral code for that. And anyway, he's over this line 77% of the time in home games this year with Seattle. And then he's over in one home head-to-head this season already, and then missed the away head-to-head. Obviously, he's going up against his former team in the Rams. I don't know that storyline or narrative really matters, but I just think Cooper Kupp has shown that at home, he's gaining some targets here. Obviously, JSN is going to draw the tougher coverage. And then Rashid Shaheed just proved what he could do last week. Now, Rashid Shaheed has not really been utilized much as during the regular game, just mostly on special teams. And so I don't know if we see a change in that because Rashid Shaheed has not even caught, I don't even think he's caught 2 passes in the last 5 games in a row. And Cooper Kupp has. So maybe Rashid Shaheed steals some of that, but I just think they're different types of players. And so they're just going to be different kinds of targets. So if anything, the tight ends would steal targets from Cooper Kupp. All right, and then another bonus bet, Drake May to throw an INT. Drake May has been playing awesome this year, you guys. I drafted him in all 3 of my fantasy leagues. One of them I had to pick him up, but the other 2 I drafted him. Someone else drafted him in one league, and then they dropped him, and then I picked him up. So I've been high on Drake May and the Patriots all season long and throughout the summer. But he's thrown INTs in half his games, you guys, and he's had a really easy schedule. So despite having an easy schedule, he has still thrown interceptions in half of his games. One was against the Raiders in week 1. All of the other interceptions came against top 18 intercepting teams, which is what I have here on the left. So all the other interceptions that he threw were to top 18 intercepting teams this year. And so that's a good thing. The Broncos are at the very bottom of this list, 18th. You would think that they'd be a little bit higher, but no. So he threw an INT against the Texans, the Chargers, the Falcons, the Steelers, the Bills, the Bengals, the Buccaneers, the Rams, and the Browns, who are all top 17 intercepting teams this year. And then he didn't play the other teams, so I blacked them out. And then the Broncos are the 18th team. So, it's a coin flip 50-50 that he's going to throw one because he's playing a team that intercepts, that is in the top. It's not quite the top half, but the top 2/3, I guess, of intercepting teams. I just think it's worth the chance for some plus money. So that's as much as I'll do talking you into it. Panthers are the only team where he didn't throw an interception that are on this list. So you see I marked it in red. So every single top 17 team that they played, as far as intercepting goes, so the teams with the most interceptions, these are the top 17. The only team on that list that they played that he didn't throw an interception was the Panthers. Hopefully that all makes sense. Anyways, best bet summary here. Looks like I changed Sam Darnold to 229 on here. I'm going to change it back to 234 because that is the line that's available right now. So I have 2 best bets, and then I have 2 bonus bets plus the game bet, the LA Rams money line. So what you can do here for this video is just let me know anything you want about football. Let me know who you think is going to win the Super Bowl. Let me know who you think is looking good next year. I think the Giants could go worst to first next year. Obviously, with that head coach hire and then all the players and then a good high pick and Malik Neighbors coming back, I just think it's going to be I think they're going to be a good team. Anyway, and then you'll be in for that cash prize giveaway like we did today. All right, thanks, guys.